Hi, I'm Cheryl and welcome to my sewing room. I'm going to demonstrate how to make this really pretty neck scarf. What's unique about it is I'm using two different colors connected together. It's a very versatile scarf. It'll go with a lot of different pieces in your wardrobe. And I'm also using that French seam to connect the pieces together. So let's get started. I'm going to give you two different sizes to cut your fabric out for, and it all depends on your body type. For instance, I'm short and I also have a short neck, so I don't want my scarf too long and I don't want it too bulky. So if you're tall, you can handle a scarf that's a little bit longer. If you've got a long neck, then you can also handle more bulk at your neck in the scarf. So before your scarf is folded in half, you've got your two pieces of fabric already stitched together, and before it's folded in half, it can be anywhere between 60 inches to 70 inches. So for the short version, 60, the tall version, 70. Now when the fabric is folded in half, it's 30 inches for the short, 35 inches for the tall. The actual width of the fabric, the finished size of the width, would be 13 inches for the smaller version and 22 inches for the larger version. Now you can change these measurements. I'm just giving you suggestions. So if you're going to have a short and narrow scarf, you're going to cut your fabric 31 inches long by 14 inches wide. And if you want the long version and wide, you're going to cut your fabric 36 inches long by 23 inches wide. Now the yardage, the amount of fabric you need to purchase for each size. The fabric width that I've purchased was 54 inches wide. So if you want the short and narrow version of the scarf, you'll need 1/2 yard of each color. Remember, we're using two different fabrics in this scarf. If you want the long and wide version, you will need 2/3 of a yard of each color, 2/3 yard. Now, the fabric that I used was Kathy Davis cotton gauze, 54-inch wide. Now I was really lucky that day. At Joann's is where I bought it. Joann's Fabrics and Crafts. It was $12.99, but I got it on sale for $5.20. Now when you're laying your gauze fabric out, you'll find that it is very hard to get really straight because it's a very thin fabric. It kind of stretches in different directions. So whatever you do, don't smooth real hard. Just kind of pat it till you get it to where it looks straight enough for you to cut. And use the lines on your cutting mat, and of course use a rotary cutter. You're going to get much better results. Once you've got your two pieces cut out, remember you're cutting two different colors. Go to your ironing board and fold the edges over 1/4 inch and press all the way down the full length of the piece. Then fold it again and press. And you're only folding it over slightly less than 1/4 inch if you can. And press as you fold. So do that on both sides of the fabric and do it on both pieces of your fabric. Then after you've done that, at your sewing machine, you're going to stitch real close to this edge right along here. Now, one of the things that I have on my machine that I really like is I can move my needle from center to the right or to the left. And I really like that because I can get full coverage of my presser foot when I do that. So I moved my needle to the right. So if you have that option, I would use it. And stitch slowly. Also use a fresh needle. If you're using a dull needle, it's probably not going to come out very well. It'll start snagging and tearing the fabric. So use a really brand new sharp needle. Now you're going to bring your two sides together, but you want to bring the back sides of your fabric together because we're going to do a French seam. So everything is done in reverse. So bring the back side together and line up your edges. Now, one of the things I noticed is that my edge kind of went a little crazy after I stitched on it. So I want to just slightly straighten this edge out a little bit, because when you do a French seam, you want it very, very straight and a nice clean edge. So line it up and just trim it so you have a nice clean edge if that's your case. Now, before you lift it up and move it, pin it so that the fabric doesn't shift, because like I said, this stuff stretches all over the place. So continue pinning all the way across, and then you're going to do a really narrow 1/4 inch seam from this edge here in. So don't get it too wide, just do a nice little straight stitch there at this end. So after you've stitched both ends of the fabric, doing a 1/4 inch seam, you're going to now turn the fabric so that you're bringing the front sides of the fabric together. I usually give this edge a light pressing before I stitch. So go ahead and fold this edge here. So now you can see where the two pieces have been stitched together. Now you're going to stitch 3/8 of an inch from the folded edge here in. So stitch 3/8 of an inch all the way across. And remember, you're doing this at both ends of the fabric. Now, after completing your French seam, if you find you have little threads sticking out through the seam, there could be two reasons why it happened like that. Maybe you didn't cut your edges really straight, or you didn't make your seam wide enough along there. So check for that, and of course if you do have a lot of thread sticking out, then I would just rip that little piece out, or excuse me, use a seam ripper and then cut those little threads and then re-stitch it. And this is what it looks like when it's done. It's a great accessory to your wardrobe. If you like this video, click on thumbs up. Also click on share to share this video with your friends. And if you haven't subscribed yet, click on that red button in the lower right hand corner of your screen. Enter your email address, click on the little bell so you receive future emails about my latest video. See you next time, and happy sewing!